Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Amazing Podcast. I'm Twain Taylor, editor at Amazing, and I bring you some of the leading voices in this space when it comes to cloud native computing. We talk to various vendors of all sizes, large and small, open source, commercial, all of them. And we're all about just discussing how do we do cloud native today? What are some of the things we need to change? What are some anti-patterns we need to let go of? And what are some new things we need to adopt? There's always change in the air when we talk about technology and especially cloud native. And so we want to be on the pulse of all that change. That's what we do. If you like the conversation today, go and check out all of our other conversations. You'll find them at amazic.com. That's amazic.com. And you'll also find it on all of the other platforms where you listen to podcasts or even on YouTube. So go and follow us on those platforms and stay tuned for our conversations. Today, I have with me an encore. We have a part two of a conversation with a guest that we've had about a year ago. We're going to be talking to Ramiro Berrelleza. He's the founder and CEO at Okteto. That's Okteto, Okteto. And so to give you a quick recap about our last time's conversation, it was a really interesting conversation where we covered a lot of, really interesting ideas that Ramiro threw out there. He spoke to us about this term that's really catching, it's spreading like wildfire, platform engineering. It's on every, DevOps team's mind, platform engineering. We spoke about that, what it is, why it's needed, and how to do it the right way. And related to that, we spoke about developer experience. What does it mean to have a seamless developer experience? How do platform engineers make it easy, extremely easy, for developers to ship code that they write? Related to that, we spoke about one-click environment creation or one-click deployments, which are very related, and basically talking about how you remove all of the manual steps from the software delivery process. And that's something that Okteto really excels at, and it's very core part of their solution. And it was really cool. Last time, actually, Ramiro demoed that for us in just a few minutes, how you could have a one-click deployment done through Okteto. And it was really simple. It was really cool, his demo. So go and check that out if you haven't. You should see it. And finally, we spoke about just this idea of the 80-20 rule, which is where Ramiro said, as an organization building software, you need to focus on the 20% that's unique to your business, just doing that stuff really well. And the 80% of the other stuff that is not unique to your business, but is part of, let's say, the infrastructure or the plumbing or like the uniform stuff that every organization does. Don't obsess over that, just automate it, get it done easily. And that's what Okteto really is about. So we covered all of this in our last conversation. It was really fascinating, the whole conversation. Go and give it a listen. If you like what I was just outlining and highlighting for you just now, go listen to that whole conversation. Ramiro details it all point by point, and you'll really enjoy that. So go and listen to that. But today we're going to pick it up from there. We had a great start, and I'm sure this is going to be even better than that. So Ramiro, with that really long welcome and recap, it's great to have you with us again. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. I mean, thank you for having me. I can't believe it's been a full year. I mean, when we were talking, over email about doing an encore, I didn't realize it's been that long. And I mean, it feels long, startup years are kind of like dog years. 1 year in a startup is like 7 years in other companies. So It was really cool. I'm very
Actually,
excited to kind of talk and share what we've learned and what has changed for Okteto and the industry over the past year or so. So
mm,
thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to getting
yeah,
into it. Last time we did I think we had a good conversation, and I have no doubts this will be even better.
yeah. Yeah, I was surprised at the amount of new stuff you guys have launched in the short time. Actually, kept me quite busy preparing for this podcast because there's so much to cover, and there's so much to talk about. It's quite fascinating that you guys could get so much done in just this short time.
Yeah,
So,
that's
really amazing. Yeah.
that's good. I mean, that means we're doing our job. One of the things that for me, that velocity of shipping is something that I really enjoy about being in a startup.
Mm-hmm.
Startups, it's kind of a guessing game sometimes. They're like, you have an idea, we know this problem exists. You mentioned this before. Platform engineering is now a very hot topic. Dev experience is something that more and more organizations are looking into. We see this everywhere where there are orgs being created, head of developer experience, director of platform. All these roles didn't exist, 3, 4 years ago. So for us, a startup
Mm-hmm.
is very cool to be able to kind of be part of this, but at the same time adapt to these changes. So for anyone who's listening
Yeah.
out there, like I think that shipping fast is what makes or breaks a startup, because the sooner you can iterate, the sooner you can adapt to change, the higher the chance that you're going to find market fit. You're going to be able to find that magical combination of the right product, the right messaging, and the
Mm-hmm.
right, like prospect all at the same time, which is
Yeah.
when you see those very nice kind of like bumps in like, hey, now we're getting more customers, or now more people come to our website, and now we're having more
Mm-hmm.
active users, and hey, renewals are becoming easier. Um, Shipping fast is core to that. And honestly, like it never feels like you're shipping fast enough. When you're embedded in a company in the day to day, you're always like, hey, why is this taking so long?
Mm-hmm.
And I fall into that trap a lot of like kind of pushing the team. Why is it taking so long? And then when
Mm-hmm.
you look back and you say, okay, let me recap the last quarter, the last 6 months, the last year, then you're like, oh my God, we actually shipped a lot. It didn't seem that way. And I
Mm-hmm.
always go back to that, I forgot the exact phrase, but it's something like humans underestimate how much you can do, overestimate how much you can do in a week, but underestimate how much you can do in a year.
Oh
And yeah,
yeah.
it's true. It's true. Like every time I look back, which is one of the things that I like to do when I'm preparing for conversations like this, you're like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we are doing a lot. And I mean our entire industry, this entire world of cloud native platform engineering, DevX has changed a lot over the past 12 months. It's been fascinating to see it grow, mature, make that jump from startups to like Gartner talking about platform engineering, to
Mm-hmm.
Forrester, to now this becoming a top of mind
Yeah.
concern with CTOs at like large traditional corporations, not only tech companies or like bleeding edge startups, but really like everywhere. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
conversations almost daily with CTOs of like, I keep getting surprised by the type of companies that kind of come out to say, hey, I'm this manufacturing company in the Midwest, and we have
Mm-hmm.
200 developers, and we're looking into like Kubernetes, and we need a platform. Can we talk? And that to me is always fascinating because I've been in the Kubernetes space pretty much since the beginning. I was lucky enough to know the people back then, and it
Mm-hmm.
went from this niche, only a few people in San Francisco out of Google and other companies know what the hell this is, to now being like every city in the world
Mm-hmm.
cares about platform, cares about
Yeah.
developer experience, and of course, now AI is also
Yeah.
the other big term there.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting that you mentioned about this change and how organizations need to reprioritize, and then you figure out, okay, this is working, this is not working. One of the changes that Okteto has made in the past year is that you've shut down one part of your product that you started with called Okteto Cloud. Tell us about that, the reasoning behind it. And
Yeah.
before that, what is Okteto Cloud? What does it do? And, and some of the reasons for why you decided to shut it down. And what does that mean for Okteto's focus going forward?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that was a very interesting time in the company. When we started Okteto, there was no language to explain platform engineering, remote dev environments, all the things that we do. Back then, DevOps, cloud native were well understood scenarios, but whenever we talk about ephemeral dev environments, remote dev environments, dev experience automation, people were like, which language is this? Are you crazy? What is this, right? So from the early days, we knew that evangelism was very important. We knew that we needed to get people to try our solutions, because we need
Mhm.
them to see, hey, there's value here. You might not be
Mhm.
able to understand my vision because maybe it's not clear enough, or maybe it's still too far, but I know you have this problem. So, trust me, try our product and check it out. So that was the reason why in the early days, first, Okteto was open source, still is. We have an open source project that you can do most of those things by just downloading a binary of our GitHub organization. But then very early in the company, in the first probably year and a half of the company, we kind of realized, hey, we need more people to try this out. And there's all these friction points that came from not having access to a platform, not having access to a Kubernetes cluster. So we decided to launch Okteto Cloud, which was a free multi-tenant version of Okteto, where anybody could sign up as long as you had a GitHub account and launch development environments, and try your product and write some code, and really get a hands-on experience on the value of setting up a centralized platform for dev environments for everybody. And the
Mhm.
product worked really well. The problem was, and it took us a few years, or took me a few years to realize this, and kind of accept that it wasn't working out. There was a mismatch in the audience, because what
Okay.
happened was we got a lot of users, very
Mhm.
popular, which kind of, back then we read that as, oh, we're doing the right thing. We're building something, people are coming, they're using it, it's great.
Mhm.
What we realized after running this for a bit was we are attracting a lot of users, but they are the wrong users. Because what we saw was that almost nobody would go from this free SaaS kind of like limited version of Okteto to what we internally call the real, quote unquote, the real product, which was the single tenant, organization-wide things. And what we realized is that we were building Okteto to be a bottoms up kind of tool that had a bottoms up adoption, while the industry, as platform engineering became a topic, and as some of the kind of like more forward thinking organizations started to build platform engineering organizations,
Mhm.
those were becoming a top down kind of
Oh.
organization, where the CTO or the VP of engineering of the company was the one that said, hey, we need a platform, we need to centralize all these efforts, I need to make my
Mhm.
developers more efficient. So, and this happens a lot in startups, which is, you not only need to think of the problem you solve, you need to think of who's buying it, how is the adoption. So we had this mismatch, because we were seeing some success on
Mhm.
our self-hosted enterprise-grade product that was like entirely sales-driven. And we were seeing some good user success. We had, I think at peak, we had maybe 10,000 developers using the cloud, but they were not converting, because these were developers that had no budget, no push in the organization, no influence. So at the beginning of the year, we look at
Mhm.
this, and at some point it was kind of like almost like it was breaking the company in two, because you had like the self-service bottoms up features, and you had like the enterprise top down features that needed to be built, and we were always competing for resources. So we kind of came out to this
Mhm.
conclusion that, yeah, no, Okteto is top down. That's the way the industry is going. We're seeing a lot more success
Mm-hmm.
on our single tenant products than this free multi-tenant. Let's shut it down. And it was a hard decision because we had a lot of early users there. I personally knew a bunch of people who were using Okteto Cloud. It was giving us kind of this name, but it was very evident, like in retrospect, it was very obvious that that wasn't working out as a commercial product.
Mm-hmm.
So we shut it down
Mm-hmm.
and we shifted the entire company, all of our resources and strategy towards this more top-down, stakeholder-driven strategy to selling Okteto. So now, instead of me trying to convince a developer to try our product and then go tell your boss, now I'm talking to the head of engineering, CTO, the person that owns the efficiency of the organization, and then we have the conversation at that level. And our entire marketing and our entire product is now built to support that kind of adoption. These days, the typical customer of Okteto is a company that has maybe at least 50 to 100 developers, where there is a central team that will purchase Okteto, will make it available to their own developers as an internal service, and then all the dev teams inside this organization will adopt Okteto the same way that, when you join a company, you don't pick your own CI service. You don't pick your own source control solution. The company picked for you. The same way that you have, GitHub and you have Circle CI, you have Okteto, because that's what your organization chose as the solution for, in our case, ephemeral environments for development and testing. And it sounds simple, but it was a change that helped us focus our roadmap, focus the talent we needed, streamline our marketing and our sales, because selling to 2 or 3 different audiences is not something that a startup should do. I learned that the hard way. Having a very single, I'm pitching this audience, I'm trying to convince this specific person of the value of the product and why they should be investing on this, change things a lot for us.
All right. Wow, really interesting backstory there. From the trenches of running a startup, just how do you position your product and how do you even pivot when you find that your positioning is not working?
It's the hardest, as founders. We start companies because we care about the problem very deeply, and sometimes it's hard to take that distance and say, hey, this is not working, you have to pivot. In our case, we didn't pivot the problem, we pivot the messaging, the product a little bit, like the focus of the product, but not too much. But definitely the messaging and the audience changed a lot, and I learned a lot through that process.
Yeah. And that has also led you to now create a completely new version of the whole product itself. There's a version 3.0 that you've just released, Okteto version 3.0, which has a whole bunch of new features. And I was wondering if you could tell us about version 3.0, the thought behind it, and give us a quick summary of some of the key things it brings and introduces.
Yeah, so Okteto 3.0 is the kind of distillation of everything we've learned over the past 2-3 years on how developers are building cloud-native applications. Our core thesis of development needs to move to the cloud. You cannot make your laptop look like a cluster. We remain very committed and very bullish about it, and more organizations agree with us now. So what we learned over this past couple of years is, okay, that is the start. But it's not just about code synchronization. Okteto started as a solution for code synchronization from local to Kubernetes. As we engage with larger and larger organizations, we start to discover that that is only a piece of the puzzle. So Okteto 3.0 is the result of like adding a bunch of things, removing a bunch of things as well, to build a product that we feel is much better suited for the needs of cloud native developers today. And I mentioned adding and removing because that's something that I also learned And kudos to our CTO for always pushing the remove flag, because it's very easy to add things, very easy to add new features, but sometimes removing actually creates more value because it simplifies, clears the mind, and makes it more obvious what you do. So among many things, like the first thing that 3.0 enables now is our vision of moving all your dependencies to the cluster. Before 3.0, when you ran Okteto deploy, which is the command to launch your dev environment, we still need a bunch of things running locally. Docker, maybe you need kubectl, Helm, all these tools to kind of create your environment. With Okteto 3.0, that's no longer the case. You run a command, this command executes remotely. It runs all your commands there. We build this framework that uses containers and Kubernetes to spin up jobs remotely. And that way, all you need to give your developers is the Okteto CLI. And everything else they need to deploy their environments. Helm, kubectl, Terraform, CDK, any other tools. If you have any custom CLIs, all that runs now remotely. So all that is defined on a file on Kubernetes, which means that every developer organization is using the same version of everything. You're no longer having to deal with like, oh, wait, I need to install Python and NPM and Terraform and Helm and Docker on my local machine to make this work. All that is gone. And now, starting on 3.0, that's going to be the default mode, because we do believe that is the easiest way forward. So that's one. Second one that I really, really like is the idea of smart builds. We keep hearing from our customers how having to wait for Docker to build is a huge, your containers to build is a huge productivity drain. You want to launch a new environment, you have some code changes, you modify something, you run build, and you have to wait 5 minutes for the container to be built. And maybe it's not too much, 5 minutes, but when you have to do that 10, 15, 20 times per day, it's a lot. And developers want to be able to develop at the speed of their fingers, of their mind. They don't want to wait. Any wait, even a few seconds, is annoying. It creates friction, and then you go doing something else. So we built this feature called Smart Builds, which does two things. One is, again, moves the build to the cluster. Now you're no longer running the build on your laptop. You're running it on a cluster where you have more power, where you're sharing things with your coworkers, which means that you can leverage. If you and I are working together and you build the image 5 minutes ago, then Okteto can tell me, hey, Twain built that image. You need to build it again. Here's your image, fast. So we build those two things: a shared cache where everybody in the same team can share the same cache to speed up build, and a second level cache where Okteto keeps track of which images have been built for your project, for every commit, for every branch, for every variation of your image. And it just kind of sends you that even before you start building. And we've seen an increase on like build and deploy speed in some of our customers, 5x, 10x, 20x faster, which is really cool, because it's one of those big things that is kind of getting in the way. And by automating that, for me, it's all about, and we talk about the 80-20 in our last conversation, it's all about that. It's all about not having to think about that. Building a container image is something you need to do to deliver your code. And it's very important. And I'm a big fan of containers, the foundational technology. But that's not going to make your business succeed. That's not going to make your code solve a problem. So the faster you can go through that, so you can get to the verifications, you can get to the actual, I have somebody using my code, the best. And that's part of what this feature enables. Then we have Okteto Test, which is another, probably the biggest investment we've made this year, which is, year one, we built Okteto code synchronization. Year two, we built the platform so you can like deploy environments and everyone in your team can use it. Year three, we built preview environments, which is an environment for a pull request, and we did this build optimizations and a bunch of other things. But something that was kind of obviously missing from there was like, okay, I can build my code with Okteto. I can deploy my code very fast with Okteto. I can iterate with it. How do I run my tests? And we did a bunch of research, and one of the most common complaints we saw with our customers on the test space was it's very hard to run end-to-end tests outside of CI. Because you have to set up a bunch of services, you have to set up all these dependencies, you need a browser running somewhere. And then the more we heard about it, I was like, hey, that sounds a lot like what we solve, which is we already give you an environment that looks like production where you can manually verify things end-to-end, where you can change code in one service and ensure that all the other services are unaffected. How hard could it be to also add tests? And our CTO, our dev team worked on it. And that's Okteto Test. We launched that earlier this year. And Okteto Test is, to me, I think has the potential to be one of the biggest breakthroughs. Because typically, in every company I worked at, testing in CI is a black box. You push your code, there's all this body of tests that are going to run, and when they fail, what do? Most people opt for giving their CI systems like backdoors, so you can SSH, collect more logs. We did it the other way around. You have an environment that dev, test, preview, everybody, your developers, your tester, your CI, you all can deploy the same environment, repeatable, fast, and then everybody can use the same class of tooling to run the tests. This means that if a test fails in CI, I can immediately go to Okteto, deploy the same environment, run the same Okteto test command from my laptop, and I'm going to get the same results. And then I can iterate with my tests. I can iterate with my code using the existing Okteto features as fast as I can. And I'm going to cut down the surprises. And that's going to be becoming the theme of our product is we don't want developers to be surprised when they get to CI, when they get to production. We want them to be able to de-risk their changes as soon as possible. And there isn't anything as soon as when I'm writing the code. So now with Okteto, you can run your code, sync it to the environment, make sure that it works, run Okteto test, make sure all your tests pass, and then you can commit, push, and the degree of certainty that things are working goes through the roof. And some of our beta adopters of this feature, like they're seeing a lot of gains on test quality, but more important, velocity, because they're no longer sitting around waiting for a full CI cycle because a single test failed. Now they can do the CI cycle confidently that, hey, it's going to work because I run it already. And the power of like any developer in your team can run any test, unit, integration, end-to-end with a single command, and it's going to get reliable results is very powerful. And to the point that some of our customers are even replacing entire CI/CD systems with just Okteto and our test facilities because it just makes their lives a lot easier. So that's been exciting. We launched it earlier. We're gonna be doing a lot more talking and demos about this specific feature, but it's something that I'm very excited about. And like this, we have our environments are. We don't want to go too long on this. I could go hours on this, but we also entered a lot of flexibility in how you deploy environments. We now support the idea of hybrid environments where not everything is remote. Some things are running locally, others are remote. This is something that's especially for our Java developers in the audience, where they want to run the Java process locally, but everything else, databases, small services, APIs, remotely. We now fully support that. And finally, log consumption is the other big thing we invested on, which is a single command to get all the logs of your application on your terminal. So you don't have to go, the same story. You don't want to go digging around, trying to find logs. Where do I get them? Why are they failing? It's all about giving you the specific commands and the functionalities to make you as efficient as possible. And that continues to be the thing with Okteto. I'm very excited what we released. We just announced the beta like yesterday, actually. Some of our customers have been trying it out for a bit. We love talk to our customers and show them what we're building and get their feedback. And now we're ready to start getting more customer feedback, which is why we posted in our blog yesterday the beta. You can download our 3.0 CLI from GitHub, and it's fully compatible with the existing version of Okteto. And we're going to be releasing a few more things in the next few months until we have like the final big, here it is, 3.0. But anybody who, if any of this resonates with you in the audience, please reach out to me. I'm on Twitter. You can reach out to me on the website. I would love to talk to you, show you what we're building, and see if it makes sense.
Okay, yeah. I think one common thread that I saw in most of the new features is just this focus on velocity, like you mentioned, just removing obstacles, even the smart builds feature, and just that 5 minutes of the build time, just eliminating that. Or like you mentioned, even Okteto test. While yeah, it helps with reducing errors and deploying more reliable code, but it helps you deploy faster, more frequently. And so I see that key thread in all of these new features, and I think it's kind of in the DNA of the Okteto product that you guys are building. Just this focus on moving faster, simplifying, removing obstacles. That keeps coming up in the things that you say, and I
Yeah.
think that really is something that every organization should care about. And it's great to see you guys have got your finger on the pulse there.
Yeah, it's key to us, and I guess maybe, I like the joke, maybe not a joke, that Okteto was founded by three very impatient people. Because we've always, all my co-founders and I have always been like this. We're like, hey, I don't want to wait. I want to go fast. I want to automate whatever, the boring part of the job. I remember when I joined Atlassian, one of the very
Mm,
first things I implemented was like, hey, we have the CI tool, but I have to go and check if the build had passed. And I don't know, I want a tool that will like let me, like will call me, hey, your build break, here, check it out. All these small things, I've always done it. So it's really cool to now have this company where this is our entire focus. Our entire focus is to make developers faster, to
yeah.
enable, speed up, because we believe that software is a fundamental accelerator for
Mm-hmm.
business. And I firmly believe that the faster you are as an organization to ship, like the faster you can ship software, the faster you can iterate, the better your business will do. So that's what the company is about, and that's what our products are. And it's really cool to see more and more companies realize this, because I think everybody cared about it. Like nobody in the world will be like, oh no, I want to go slower. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of this kind of, especially like exec level people, are realizing that you have to invest in this. It's not developer speed, developer efficiency doesn't just happen. You
Mm-hmm.
need to invest on it. You need to have somebody in your organization, especially at scale, that needs to be responsible for this KPI. Like most of our customers, especially large organizations, have very clear KPIs for developer velocity, developer efficiency. And there's a bunch of research out there. There's Dora, there's Space, there's a bunch of other things, but it's all about making somebody responsible so that you can continuously improve. The same way that manufacturing learned many years ago the importance of continuous improvement and quality and repeatability, I think now we are learning as an industry that developer experience is something that you need to invest on. It's not something that, oh, the developer will figure it out as it used to be before. Or yeah, it needs to be an organizational initiative. The same way that you have KPIs for revenue, you need something for this. So it's been exciting,
Mm-hmm.
and we launched a feature this year also called Okteto Insights,
Mm-hmm.
which is our data plane for helping decision makers understand this. With
Mm-hmm.
Okteto Insights, you can now see things like what's the deployment velocity, like how long did your deployments take daily, the average daily over the past year, or hey, your builds were taking 5 minutes a year ago, and now they're taking 9 minutes. And here's the information on why. So that this new breed of like director of platforms, of head of DevX, now they can have solid data to say, see, this is why we need to invest on a tool like Okteto. This is why you need smart builds, because you can see that your build is degrading, and a slow build has these complications. You can see in this other chart that your deployments fail a lot on dev. Why? Because these other 5 things, and this is causing pain and toil. And it's because everybody knows that if you have a slow dev process, you're going to have a slow delivery, you're going to have a slow iteration, and your business will suffer. So the sooner you address that, the better. So it's very exciting because it's almost like full circle to like, we believe in that, we've suffered that, we built a product, the industry is catching up to what we kind of knew in our hearts, and now we're building the tooling to help them not only implement the solutions for velocity, but also a solution to evaluate their investments, make sure they are investing in the right things, and if not, have these kind of indicators to course correct. And it's been fascinating because we had some customers who adopted this on day one, and it's really cool to see them making like major engineering decisions based on the data that they are now able to harvest from Okteto and our platform. Like something as simple as how long is the container build taking for this particular API across my entire organization. They couldn't get that information before. Before it was always like developers complaining, it's too slow, it takes too long. Now they have concrete data, and that empowers them to make better decisions, to get more budget, to convince the CFO and the CEO that they need to get money to solve this problem, which is something that I believe that as an industry, we were lacking before.
All right, all right. Wow. Fascinating. Yeah. We're kind of drawing to a close, but we really love our demos and was wanting to, get a look and see some of these key features that you mentioned in Okteto version 3.0, whether that's insights or one of the other features, deploy on remote or smart builds. Show us something that would be a nice way to pick up from your previous demo where you demoed your one-click deploy.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to. Yeah. Let me share my screen, and I'll go back to developer mode, and I will show you something. So this is a cool scenario. Like I have this application, and I think I showed you this before, which is our, let me open the browser, maybe more visual that way. Real quick, this is an application that we call the Taco Shop. And this is one of our demo apps, the ones we use to show what a full implementation of our vision for modern development looks like. And it has 3 microservices, cloud infrastructure, and this is one of the first kind of changes we made, right? Nowadays, when we think of dev environments, it's not longer just Kubernetes. It's Kubernetes, it's cloud, it's your laptop, it's all of these things, right? So you have this big, complex environment, multiple services. In this case, this demo, it provisions the cloud infrastructure using Terraform and everything Kubernetes using Helm. So now I'm going to go here. This is my terminal. This is VS Code. So I'm going to log in. Let me just double check if I'm logged into Okteto. I am. Perfect. So I'm going to run Okteto deploy. Now, from the outside, this looks like always. Oh, Okteto deploy. It's just running things. But now I want to show you a couple of things that I think are very important. First is, you can see here, I don't have Terraform installed on my laptop. I don't have my AWS account configured on my laptop. I don't even know what it should be, but it doesn't matter because everything you see here in this terminal is running remotely. If I look at the definition of the Okteto and Okteto YAML, you'll see that my platform team decided we're going to be using a certain version of Terraform, a certain version of Go, a certain version of Helm. None of that is installed on my machine. I don't care. I don't know. The other, going back to smart builds, is this. You can see here that Okteto immediately skipped all the build steps and says, hey, your image is already built. I don't have to go check with Docker. I don't have to go check, send the context. No, they're built. Skip that step. You got it. Boom. Go to next. So very quickly, now I have an environment up and running remotely. So you can see it here. It's already here, but what's very interesting to me is that cloud infrastructure was created. It's using Terraform. We're even embedding kind of this documentation, leaving documentation on the platform. But everything's so that very fast, I can just go and access my service. And then I can create another environment. Imagine that I want to do like, I don't know, like version 2. Okteto namespace create version 2. Okay. And now I'm going to do the same, deploy again. But now it's going to go to version 2. It's a different namespace. The same thing. You can see here it says, hey, Okteto Smart Builds is a skipping build of menu because it's built. Because I already built that branch. I deployed it before. You can see that this specific change in the kitchen container, that one wasn't built for this specific environment. So it caught it. So it's building some things, but not everything. And this, as we were saying earlier, results in me having these environments very fast, where as a developer, I don't have to worry of like, which cloud account? Where do I get the tooling I need? Which version of Terraform are we using? Which cluster should I be pointing this at? All of that is gone. I have a very fast dev environment up and running. It's very quickly to rebuild. If you were using the same cluster, you will see the same thing I'm seeing. You can like use when you build, you leverage my cache, everything very fast and everything right there. From an admin perspective, I don't have it installed here, but you will see an entry for Okteto Insights. But if you just search online really quickly, you can see that we have dashboards like this, where you can see how many pods are they running, how much CPU you're consuming, how many deployments you did today, are they failing? And this is data that uses Prometheus, uses Grafana, so it's instantly available. And those are two examples of things that we do. There's a lot of also smaller improvements, but remote deployments, builds, and the end-to-end test execution, which now you have a command called Okteto test, where when you run this, it's not configured for the sample, but when you run Okteto test, it will execute the tests remotely. You can see here that it says they're not available, but if you go here, they're very easy to add. As you said, it's all about speeding up the developer. It's all about getting you out of having to think about this as small things like, hey, which tests do I have to run? None of that matters. What matters now is I want to develop. I want to see my changes fast. I want to go there and I want to be effective. And that's what matters for these organizations is velocity, is innovation speed, is being able to get your code as fast as possible to whoever is your client, your customer. Maybe it's internal, maybe it's external, because that's how organizations evolve. That's how they thrive. And that's how you win markets, by having a fast development lifecycle. So this is a small demo of some of the things that you can do now. Remote development, dev environments that, as we saw in this demo, they spin out not just Kubernetes, but also in the cloud. The build being like, you can see here, now you have all the logs here as well. Sorry, here. And you can see that everything is here, very easy to access the logs. There's a command on the CLI to get the logs as well. It's part of what we're building. It's part of what we shipped this year, and part of what makes Okteto 3.0, for me, very excited, because we have all these things. We're much more polished experience. And as you said, very focused on getting things out of your way so you can be effective. Speed. It's all about speed of development.
Yeah. Yeah, that demo as well was quite a fast-paced demo with a lot of features packed in under 5 minutes, I guess. But there's one more thing that I wanted to touch on before we end, which is AI. So yeah, it's all the buzz right now, and you guys also doing some really cool stuff related to AI. In fact, you had one announcement called Lima AI, Lema AI,
Mhm.
which is pre-configured sandboxes for AI development. Sounds very interesting. And if someone is building something, uh, an AI app, they probably might be curious to know what this is about. So tell us about this.
Yeah, no, of course, happy to. So going back again to the beginning of the company, we built Okteto because we firmly believe that dev environments need to be remote. Because back then we said, hey, you cannot replicate Kubernetes. The past year, as everybody in tech knows, has been all about AI. The fast innovation, cool new things. And to me, one of the most surprising things to happened is that Kubernetes quickly became the standard for AI infrastructure. Why? Because Kubernetes is really good at running infra at scale. And very quickly, a lot of innovation in enabling you to deploy GPUs in Kubernetes, to share GPUs. So Lima AI is one of our customers, and they're building this bleeding edge AI solution for managing risk at organizations, compliance, and those kind of things. And they came to the problem of like, hey, we need to give our developers access to GPU environments. And laptops can be expensive, but more importantly, they don't match the GPU that their AI models need. They were like, hey, I have this, I need to run this on a specific model that needs an NVIDIA GPU. I can't buy laptops with this particular GPU. Can we use Okteto for that? And then we partnered on this, and we built a solution where, funny enough, it's the same thing, right? The difference is that instead of thinking of Okteto as a sandbox for cloud native, it's a sandbox for all your AI needs. And what happens with Okteto is that now multiple customers are using Okteto the same way I show you this demo of like, I'm deploying this application that is cloud native. You can deploy an application that has all the components you need to build your AI application, Jupyter notebooks, very large data sets, your models, if you're using Llama, if it's something else. But with the ease of use that now we're known for, which is one click, get my setup, give me a GPU, ephemeral, give me my data set, and let me do the work. And this company loves it because they just run, as I show you, Okteto deploy. They have a sandbox with a GPU, with their code, with their data. They can run all their development, all their tests. And when they're done and when they push to production, they have the confidence that it's going to work because they're using the same resources, the same configuration, the same type of GPU. So more and more organizations are now using Okteto to give their developers access to GPU sandboxes, dev environments powered with GPUs, because they're ephemeral, they can be shared, they're cheaper, which means that just like I show you in this demo, after we're done with our recording, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna destroy my environment. It's gonna go away. The same thing would happen if I was building something in AI. Once I'm done, I go, I shut it down, I free up the GPU, and that means that my colleagues can now use those resources, and my company didn't have to buy, 2 or 3 GPUs per developer, which is insanely expensive. They buy a cluster, we can all share it, and it's very exciting. It's a new feature. It's something that we started to talk about earlier this year, and the team very quickly put together this working demo. Lemma adopted it. They're using it now. Their entire team uses Okteto to build Lemma AI. And now we're talking to more organizations to do this. And it's very exciting because I like, for us, it goes back to the same thing. I go back to speed. If you're building something on AI, it's not about GPUs. It's not about troubleshooting which driver do I need? How much memory do I need to run this model? No, it's about what cool thing can I build with this model. So it's really exciting for me to be able to provide this platform so that they can get all those concerns out of the way get your platform team empowered to give you an sandbox for AI, and then you as a developer use your skills in AI, in ML, in data science to build really cool solutions. And I want you to use all your brain power on that and not on where can I get a GPU, which driver, which version of PyTorch do I need, which Jupyter network do I need to like download. It's really cool how, and I was even talking about this last week, is it's really cool how we can reuse all this very powerful technology we already have for this new use case. And I think
Mm.
that's way more effective than having to reinvent every tool again. And that's
Yeah.
something that we talk with our customers a lot, which is, hey, you made an investment in platform. You have it. You can reuse that for this new use case. Don't think of AI as something that's 100% new. I mean,
Mm.
some of that is new, but there's a
Mm.
lot of what we already know how to do. Self-service, infinite scale,
Mm.
sandbox creation that we can reuse for this new world. So very exciting, and I'm very happy to see our customers benefit, especially because, which makes me even like extra excited, a lot of our customers are discovering this by themselves. You start using it, and then you kind of see the tickets. Hey, I'm using Okteto this way. Is this crazy? Like, no, it's amazing. Yeah, you can do this. We have these resources. Hey, let's talk and see what else, how can we improve the platform to make this easier for you? That's a very fun part of the startup game, which is when your customers discover new use cases by themselves. They ask you, then you partner, then you formalize it into a feature, and then more people can leverage it and create even cooler things.
Mm.
Is what keeps me building developer tools. I love enabling other people and making
Yeah.
them build their vision. And again, fast velocity stays at the
Mm.
core of our mission there.
Wow. Fascinating. I think that's a great note to end our conversation on because it really touches on just uh, what's even ahead for Okteto and even for the industry at large. Just figuring out how do we reuse what we already have and know and put it to use for these new AI workloads that, yeah, they're new, but then there's also a lot that's not new, as you said really interestingly. And I quite love how you simplify these challenges that way and make it a lot more manageable, that these seemingly complex things can be simplified. And I think that's one of the marks of a great, great a startup that's building something great, that they can simplify what they're doing. So
That's the
really,
goal.
really appreciation there. Just a lot of nuggets that you gave us in this entire conversation. I hope all of our listeners and viewers enjoyed listening to Ramiro and his take on just all things platform engineering, developer experience, and even AI towards the end. So yeah, we should get Ramiro back next year sometime to tell us about how their work with AI has been going. It'll be good to see if AI is a big part of Okteto 4.0. You never know.
Looking forward to that. Thank you for the time. I love the conversation. And yeah, and for any of your listeners, if any of these topics resonated with you, please, reach out. Love talking to people about this, whether it's just from a colleagues talking about this, or if it's something that at your company I'm going to help you with, please, Okteto.com. We're there for you and always happy to continue to evolve this idea of dev experience now with an AI flavor. And Twain, thank you so much for the invite. And yeah, looking forward to sharing more in a year, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. Before you go, Ramiro, I found out that in your chat conversations, you're into using emojis. Could you show us one or two emojis when you chat with people?
Yeah, that comes from before Okteto. When I was in Atlassian, I worked at HipChat, which was one of the early chat systems before Slack, and that team always used emojis a lot in our conversation. It was a good way to infuse flavor and personality on
Yeah.
on business chat. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's something we do a lot on Okteto as well. I like to believe that I kind of brought that in, and then people kind of started adding it. So Few of my favorite, somebody, I don't know who, actually, I don't know who created the series of Okteto. Like they took our logo
Mm-hmm.
and they animated one. So there's one that is dancing, that is kind of bouncing up and down. So I use
Mm-hmm.
that one a lot to kind of show excitement of like, hey, we shipped something. It's amazing. Hey, this really cool thing happened. So that one bounces. And then another one that somebody else added is this emoji where of of Keanu Reeves saying thank you. And he's doing like the thanks like with a kiss. And I was checking the stats. I use that one a lot too. To thank somebody, say, hey, thanks for like helping with this, or hey, you did this really cool thing for our customers. We at Okteto we have this channel we call Kudos, where people do like peer recognition. Hey, thanks for helping me, thanks for going above and beyond. So I use that a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And I use that thanks one a lot, which is funny because in HipChat we have another different emoji for saying thanks, which was a picture of Tom Hanks because it's T Hanks, thanks. It's kind of dumb. So it's really funny how at Okteto somebody came up with like our own flavor of like the thanks emoji. So I use those two a lot. Plus, the usual yellow faces, but it's fun. I like it. I mean, even though we're building enterprise software and it's a lot of serious people at the company, I like to encourage the self-expression and make sure that people have fun and that we
Mm-hmm.
exchange those dynamics. So I'm hoping. I hope the team is listening, and maybe they'll be like no, but I do hope that the emojis, the abuse of emojis on Notion pages and Slack messages makes it a bit more personable
Fun.
and less stuffy.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, interesting. All right, with that, the end of this fascinating conversation, and do tune in again for the next episode. That's it for now. Bye bye.